Welcome to the Additive Report Advisor, a webcast series for machine shops and fabrication shops that provides insight on additive manufacturing. Our guest today is Roland Spiegelhalder, who's product manager with Trump. So we've covered technology, we've broached applications and drivers and benefits. Now I just want to get into a much broader bucket of guidance, your guidance for the shop, which you've already offered some, but I want to pick up those conversations. And the first question I have is, job shop is evaluating, maybe potentially on the verge of buying their first machine. Are there any common mistakes, traps, potholes that you see job shops step into in making that first acquisition that they should reconsider and avoid?
Yeah, so I really think going into that technology, it's more than only buying that machine. You really need to focus on, okay, how do I now get my head to flip that switch? Do I maybe get a person who has experience in that? How do I get trained? I think we as a machine manufacturer, obviously we have the experts. Yeah, these people can always come to us, request that help. I think we, for example, also can offer really consulting tasks if there's, for example, a case there. So we can really bring the whole we can transfer the whole knowledge that's needed to operate it in the right way. So I think, my advice would be, not only focus on the purchase, which is maybe the cheapest or the biggest machine. Think of the whole scenario, and everything that will be involved with it.
Okay, so you get what you purchase, what you pay for. The other thing you're kind of broaching on is, a lot of people also look at a platform and go by the build volume. How much working space do I have? The number of lasers, the wattage of the lasers, because everything on first blush or even initial evaluation, everything looks the same. Your laser powder bed fusion can look very much or exactly like company X, company Y, company Z, but the differences are actually fairly low level and involved. And matter of fact, your patent on scanning strategies right there is a big differentiator for company A to company B. That path that the laser traverses has a possible impact on things down to microstructure, overall mechanical properties. So
Definitely.
so you agree with me, there's a lot that they really should know before making a buying decision.
Yes, no, definitely, I think so. So I would really advise to have seen the process, to really go into the details of it. How does the process work in detail? How to really get a fundamental understanding of what is going on there. I think that really helps to find the right cases later on, to not run into problems that maybe were unforeseen if you just go ahead. And definitely, I think it's easy to take a data sheet A and compare it to the data sheet B, but as you said, the size of the build envelope, how many lasers, these are not at the end the points which make a application work or not. So it's really the smart factors behind it, to get all of these and understand them well. I think that's also definitely very important.
Yeah. And to expand that, it's the entire workflow. Starting with the design, but then parameters applied to the print process, the actual printing process, but then what happens downstream of the 3D printing to get out that part that's consumable, that's usable. So you've got to look at a much broader aspect than just the machine. And I guess your words of warning here, an industry like, say, a 3-axis mill, it's very, very mature, and you can look at a spec sheet. This is oversimplification, but if you look at torque, you look at speeds and feeds, spindle speed and all that, you can get a really strong idea if it'll satisfy your needs. But additive, we're nowhere near that level of maturity where you look at the spec sheet and it tells you anything significantly meaningful. Agree?
Yes, I agree on that one. Yeah.
Well, you've got a big ask though. So, how does someone who doesn't know additive manufacturing know what questions to ask and know what to observe in the process? And you've already given the answer, which is turn to expertise and rely on them for advice and consultation.
Yeah.
But your answer early on, or when you answered the previous question, was basically turn to Trump. We've got those resources and people,
Yeah.
but or A, how do people know to trust you? That's not a fair question. But B, what if a competitor doesn't have that same trustworthy resource to offer them information, guidance, and point them to the questions they have? What else does someone do? This isn't a fair question because it's a it's a long venture into understanding all that you need to know, especially because it turns the world on its head. It's totally different. But are there any other recommendations you have? Or back to the question, how do I know I can trust Trump to tell me the truth? You've got a product to sell.
Yeah. That's right. No, I think we are here and around in the industry for really quite a long time. We are not now, coming here on with a new product line, the additive manufacturing, and then a tray. Okay, let's buy it. We made a sold, and then we're happy. We're out. We're really planning long term. I think our company was growing through long-term customer relationships, and definitely the chop shops are very important to us. We are selling a lot of equipment in general into that industry. So I think this is really, we definitely, we know them very well. We are very close to these customers. So I think this is where we have there a little bit of a benefit.
Okay. I agree. And, like you said, you're established in job shops. That's your main customer segment. So it's likely that job shops that fit your target already have Trump machines. Therefore, they should know whether they can trust you or not. So I'd say
Exactly.
my question probably is one for people to noodle on who don't currently have a Trump platform or haven't interfaced with Trump. So buyer beware, get your information, gather your information, and also um, question the source because ladies and gentlemen, this industry is known for selling you a machine and not even telling you that you have another $500,000 of equipment needed to make the entire process work. So make sure you're venturing into a trustworthy relationship to get the information you need. And this isn't people lying to you. This is not used car salesman kind of tactics. Instead, it's let's say little white lies by omission. You failed to ask, therefore, I'm not going to tell you you've got to write a check for twice the amount that you thought. So, partner up with an organization that you feel comfortable with. Um, I'm going to close out with my last question, then open it up to you for any other thoughts that you have. So, my last formal question, and you've already kind of answered it, but I want to dig in. So, you've got traditional non-additive manufacturing platforms. You've been selling, supporting, and satisfying the job shop industry for decades and decades. You've got additive manufacturing. So you've got both aspects covered. What is your prediction of the near-term future with regards to disruption, displacement, or complementary solutions for the job shop?
Yeah. So I think we see really, if I think of my first years at Trump, how how we have been confronted with new developments on the market in the industries. So AM back 5 years ago was really pretty new. And I think in the last 5 years, it progressed really quite a lot. You see pretty much all the big companies establish their teams, their groups, their AM centers. So I think really now we are now at the point where it's not anymore a little bit rapid prototyping or I'm just proving a demonstrator here. So it's really getting real now. The companies really are getting into that technology. And as I said, it's not anymore a question of, okay, who is producing here the cheaper part? It's sometimes really technology driven. And if we are looking at, for example, injection nozzles, the parts are really getting complex. And if you look at the designs, you would have really a hard time manufacturing these on other technologies. So there's really now no other way. So I think these things are definitely coming more into the industry, and a chop shop who in the past, maybe just only did milling and tasks like that will be confronted with that. So 100%, I don't believe that AM will take over the world and there will be no other technologies around there anymore. Definitely, if you have parts, there are just parts where you are better off milling them. There are parts where you 100% are better off just casting them, as you have done in the past. But definitely the technology is evolving. I think the productivity definitely goes up. The powder prices are going down really every year. You can look at that. So I think the break-even point, or the point where a AM case is compatible to a traditional one, is increasing every year. There are more parts coming out, and because the technology is getting more effective and cheaper, maybe also the whole length of your supply chains is shrinking down to only one printer, is really, I think, helping that technology to increase and be more and more present in our in our future. And that also transitions 100% through to the job shop. So yeah, that's definitely, that's my prediction. So we will see it coming, and I think it will be definitely on the same path as the last few years, and we'll find more and more its way in.
Well, related to that, I said one more question. Now I'm going to ask another question. So you already mentioned, I want to reiterate, you said that it's not too late. You know, there's not an established base of premium, everyone, the go-to companies for job shop work on additive manufacturing. So it's not too late. Still time to get in, which is great news. How long does a job shop, let's say a typical job shop, have before it does become a competitive disadvantage, or does it not?
Yeah. No, I think definitely. So as I said, it's not only, okay, you buy a machine and then you can do these parts. It's, I think, definitely a lot of know-how that you need to have. Sometimes also a more special machine that just help you improving the whole process with AM, post-processing, all these kind of things. And I think right now we are at the point where you have really companies out there who invest a lot, who try to get a big piece of the cake and of the pie here. And so I think, yeah, they are hard to look into the future, but I think you have a couple of more years left. But obviously, there are more and more people coming onto that market and want to have a part of it. So I think it's getting challenging every day. Yeah, it's not too late yet. So I would give it a couple of more years where I would say a total newcomer can come on the market and be successful instantly, just because maybe his relationship to his end customers are which give him so much benefit that he could overcome a little bit of technology. Yeah,
Okay.
things
But
at the
I don't want
beginning.
to leave them off the hook, since it takes a significant amount of time to become effective, since there's a lot of information you have to acquire to make the right decision. Would you agree with my position that you may not have to buy today and be an additive manufacturing supplier, but you should at a minimum be building your plan, your strategy, or at least investigating to understand what it should be important to evaluate? So
Yeah.
you got to get started today, at least in information gathering. Would you agree?
Yes, I would definitely agree. And I would even maybe take it further than that. And I would say adding a smaller size printer to a, to a job shop is not a big investment, but can really put you on, could really put you on a total different train here, which just gives you a fast pace going behind. And I mean, at that point, you can really decide, does it work for you? How does it behave? And you can really learn quite a lot, even as I said, with the smaller ones. And you would be prepared for getting a big system going into big contracts with that one.
Well, with this, any closing thoughts? Any questions that I didn't ask that I should have? Anything that popped to mind that you'd like to broach that didn't come up in the conversation?
So maybe in regards of the applications, also a question that we are confronted a lot with. So maybe I want to go into that one at the end here. So we see a lot of people are also asking us, okay, which materials at the end do work with your technology? And my general answer on that one is, in generally, if you can weld it, you are good to also process it in a 3D printer. I think the whole industry started with a couple of standard alloys and really is improving from that point on. And also we have some special solution out there with the higher preheat temperature, which really, is opening up the portfolio of materials more and more. And I would say really as of right now, when you can weld it, you're good for using it into an AM machine, even with full, mechanical properties.
Let me clarify. So it's got to be self-weldable, so you can weld it to itself, not a weldable
Yes,
material of.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
good to have you.
Yeah.
Yep,
And then you even did you guys add green lasers, I think?
exactly. Yeah. So we
And the
also,
green
yeah.
laser is important. Why?
So we added a green laser to our portfolio. We developed that really over a few years, especially for the high reflective material. These are materials like copper. So normally you shoot in 100 watts of laser power and it's like a mirror. They are sending back 89% of it, and you end up with 2 watts in the material itself. That's happening with the IR lasers that we're using normally. Changing there to the different green wavelength and to that light source really gives you the same situation like with an iron and the IR laser, and that's the
Okay.
origin of that benefit. So high reflective materials work very well, yes, with the green.
All right. Well, Roland, we've taken up way too much of our attendees, our viewers' time. Hopefully they found it beneficial. So with that, I would like to close by thanking you very much for your time and for the very insightful information you provided. And there was no infomercial in there, so thank you. You made my job easy. Uh, Viewers, I also want to thank once again Trump for its support. Without that support, this additive report advisor would not be happening. So do me a favor. If you have a need for metal additive manufacturing or possibly something in Trump's other non-additive manufacturing lineup, so marking and welding and cutting and punching, all those applications, give them some thought. And you can check out their lineup at www.trump.com, or they've been kind enough to say you can drop an email to oeminfo@us.trump.com if you have a specific inquiry that you'd like to post. And the last thing I want to mention before I let you go, if you haven't already left us, is that if you or someone you know could contribute to this conversation as a job shop or someone who works with job shops, we'd really like to consider having you as a guest in a future program. So if you know somebody, drop us an email at andyf@fmanet.org. With that, I wish you the best of your day and hope all the best for you in your additive manufacturing journey. Thank you.